Welcome to the Birchip Recreation Reserve for the Paddock The Goals vodcast in what we believe will be a dynamic must-listen season. My name is Travis Fitzgibbon. I'm Director of Community Development at Paddock Council, and this is taking me back to my roots of breakfast radio and AFL broadcasting. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and those that might be tuning in today. This is intended to be the first of 10 vodcasts for the Paddock The Goals Flood Recovery Series brought to you by Paddock Council in partnership with a large number of stakeholders. AgVic, BCG, Australian Red Cross, the Victorian SES, DECA, Emergency Recovery Victoria. We thank them for their funding support, especially ERV. This is the first of two live vodcasts amongst that. This one's coming to you from the Birchip Recreation Reserve today for the North Central Football League's opening round of the 2023 season. A bit unique too, with two reigning football senior premiership sides going head-to-head, with the Birchip Watcham Bulls hosting Nullawal that have made their way across from the Golden Rivers League from season 2022. So a pretty rare thing about to happen on the George Cartwright Oval this afternoon. We are literally in a van at the back of the oval, and the netball court's off to the left, and the hockey fields, which aren't being used today, are behind us as well. So if you hear a bit of background noise, that will be the crowd enjoying the entertainment on offer today. The Mallee weather might get a little willing today as well, so think of a rusted-on centre-half back welcoming a boom centre-half forward recruit to the league, or a star goal defence and goal attack renewing acquaintances. The aim of these vodcasts is to inform our community and incorporate diverse perspectives and interests. Our discussions aim to improve our understanding of the October 2022 flood event, document the lessons learned, and emphasise the role of local activities and organisations in promoting community connections. This supports our goal of encouraging creativity and comfortable engagement environments to build a better Paddock for our preparedness and future emergencies. The series bounces off the success of the Go To Them Paddock Run Flood Initiative delivered in December of last year, which has been, of course, nominated for a national award. I hope you've all got your votes in for that. A day at the sports, in this case, the North Central Football League, to participate in or support hockey, netball and football captures a significant slice of Paddock and our big community. In fact, Vic Health research study 2 years ago found that Paddock Shire has the highest overall sports participation in the state, and Paddock is consistently in the top 2 LGAs for volunteerism, so it's highly likely that you or your family have a stake in the North Central Footy League. Vodcasts can be more inclusive and accessible to those that may face barriers to accessing information, such as our vulnerable people, those with disabilities, or constraints that make attending events difficult. So you can listen in from your car if you're here at the footy and the netball today, keeping out of the rain, or if you're not a footy fan, you can tune in from home on the couch, wherever you are. So let's set it up. Much like the footy being played today, we'll break today's The Paddock The Goals vodcast into 4 quarters, and we'll kick off a season and the first term with what you need. And to set it up will be committee members and presidents and our star local scribe who sees it all and has likely seen it all. So let's bounce the ball. It's a very good and warm welcome to Shane O'Shea from the Paddock Times. Shane, you've been at the Paddock Times since 1979.
Well, actually, I've been at the Times since about 72, but I've been writing for the football since 78, 79. So I've been there for a while. I've seen a few generations go through, and each year, every season, it's just as exciting as the next. But this one, I think, in particular, is very exciting because we welcome a new member of the family in Nullawal.
Yeah.
I know how determined they were to join us, and it's just fantastic to have them on board. And walking around the Birchip Oval on my way here, just to see the smiling faces, some I've seen in other areas of my occupation. But it's just great to have the families, the whole community on board. And I think that's the strength of North Central. It's the whole community involvement that keeps us going.
And a nice segue into welcoming the Nullawal Club into the North Central League. And I'd like to introduce Wade Humphries, former president, current committee member, and a man who does a lot for the Nullawal community. Welcome, Wade.
Thanks very much.
And from the Birchip Watcham Football Club, their president, Brad Sharp. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Travis.
So, Shane, we might throw to you to really set this up for the North Central Footy League season. What are we expecting in season 2023? We might focus on the senior football, the netball and the hockey.
Right. Football-wise, when you throw in Nullawal, a reigning premiership team with a proud history, and they'll be challenging the other 8 North Central clubs all the way. the pecking order is yet to be determined, and once we go through one complete round, I think we'll have a better idea. But today's outing between the two premiership sides is just outstanding in itself, and we wish both clubs all the very best. But I think our reigning premiership team, Birchip Watcham under Trevor Ryan's, going to be hard to beat. They're the yardstick. They've recruited very well, and I think Sea Lake Nandali have also recruited well. They've got a couple of ex-AFL players on the list. Bort, I think, will be the big improver. They've also, Shane Biggs, a member of the Western Bulldogs 2016 premiership side. Travis Baird, who played a bit of footy with the Brisbane Lions, is back playing with Charlton, wearing his father Bill Baird's famous number 18 jumper. So, and you go around, Sam Barnes is back going to have a run with Wedderburn. So I think that the whole league is going to be up and about, and because of our probably lack of depth, that might be the deciding factor in a lot of ways. But I'm just looking forward to a very exciting year of very competitive football. The same on, say, the netball court. Wedderburn, they're obviously the yardstick as far as netball goes, but I think there might be a few new family members on the way, so a few of their ladies will be out of action for a while, but they're still going to be the team to beat. Nullawal's got a proud netball history too, so I think they're just going to slot into the mix well. Charlton is always pretty handy and bought on the netball court, so again, a very even competition there. And on the hockey field, Charlton ladies were the dominant force last year, and I think they'll set the pace again. Nullawal don't have hockey, but it's still going to be a very even and competitive season, and it's just great that a whole town can virtually pack up and head to another neighbouring town. The families don't have to divide themselves and go to a different town to play, and we're all in close proximity with our football, hockey and netball.
Yeah, it's a great point this afternoon. We've got, 4 communities really, haven't we, here in Birchip, with Watcham, Corac, Nullawal and Birchip all descending on the recreation reserve for a day at the sports. So I was reading in the Recorder this morning, with Nullawal joining the league, it closes the Calder corridor from Wedderburn to Nandali. Every town dotted along that highway is now the North Central Football League. Wade, Nullawal's a bit of a hidden gem in my opinion. Jimmy the dog on the silo, Orkmore out there at the Historical Society. So lots to see in Nullawal. But the main attraction is the recreation reserve where the club resides. Tremendous history. What do the North Central Football League get when they bring Nullawal into their fold?
Oh, well, there's no doubt about it. We're a proud club and a proud community. And, I'm not going to say we're going to come in here and turn the league upside down or anything like that. I'm not going to say that, but we'll be trying anyway. There's no doubt about that. We mightn't win today, but as long as we give a good showing, is all we're trying to do.
What's the mood around the club? It's a different year, moving leagues. First time that you've been away from the Golden Rivers League, and was it 26 years since the Tyrrell League prior? What's the mood around the club as you test yourselves against another group of combatants?
Yeah, well, just the mood around the club. Everyone's excited. There's 43 on the track Thursday night. We're only a town of 60 people, so I mean, people are making the effort, and you're only going to have a look at the crowd today. The weather's pretty ordinary outside, but if it was a nice sunny day, there'd be a lot more people. But there is a big crowd here and good following from Nully, so yeah, I'm pretty pleased to see how many people are here. Really, it's good.
What's the importance of a club in a time of strain? The flood event, the impacts on the roads around Nullawal, the town itself wasn't subject to inundation or anything like that as Tyrrell Creek passed by to the east of the town. But what's the importance of a club in a time like this?
Oh, yeah, footy club and tennis club and cricket and netball is everything to us all. As I was saying earlier, she's one in, all in. Look, we're a small community, and if your heart and soul is not in it, you have nothing. But there's a lot of bigger towns that have amalgamated and that around us. As I say, we're only a town of 60, and we're still on our own for that one reason, because everyone's invested, everyone's fair income, and I guess we play to win. It's as simple as that.
It's a good motto. I read another good motto today, which you might not like because it's the opposing side. But in the Recorder, I note in the notes for the Birchip Watcham Club, the slogan "Together we charge." Brad, is that new, or is that a mantra that the club's held for a while?
It's a mantra that Coach Trevor Ryan bought when he started coaching us. We had to have something to believe in, something to focus, and that's what Trevor come up with, and we've stuck by it and will be forever, I'd say now.
Well, it led you to breaking that drought last year with the senior football premiership. What are the hopes of the club this year in footy and netball?
We definitely lost a few from last year. We've gone out and tried to recruit like for like in a sense. We've done a pretty good job, I feel, but the way the league is, every team's improved. Obviously, the newcomers in Nullarbor coming in, they'll be a force to be reckoned with as well. I think the first time in probably 8 to 10 years, it's going to be a very even competition. There's probably been 2, maybe 3 standout sides through COVID, and we'd actually played off in 3 losing grand finals. In 21, got 9 games in. I think we may have been on top of the ladder. We were quite confident, had the rug pulled from underneath us.
Yep.
And then to come out last year and actually take it out, it was a lot of hours and a lot of hard work went into that premiership.
What does that do to a club when COVID-19 ended that season and this, you come up here on a Thursday night and have a meal as a community, when due to circumstances you can't control, how hard is that on a town like Birchip and by extension Watcham and Corac? How hard is that on the communities?
It was devastating. We actually had some recruits commit and move here. COVID reared its ugly head again, and half of them couldn't go home. They were stuck in Birchip. And to be sitting where we were, yeah, as I said, it was just devastating, and very happy with our win last year.
So the drought flood sequence that's affected Beloit Shire since the millennial drought, really, and Birchip had an extraordinary circumstance in 2018 with a flash flood event as well, when a huge downfall fell in December. Times of strain, times of hardship, how important is your club to your communities when everyone's got to pull together?
The local leisure centre up here, especially through the winter, is a real hub for all the local families. I think it seats around 250. It's a magnificent building, but we're very proud of them, and the locals are rapt to have somewhere where we can all meet and concentrate on our sporting abilities, improving and trying to get the best out of ourselves.
It's probably not the greatest idea in the world sometimes to give the journo the last word, but Shane, what do you see around the Traps in camaraderie? Like you said, you've been working in these communities at the Beloit Times for 51 years. What do you see when you look amongst the football leagues and the cricket leagues and the tennis leagues and all the sporting interactions that happen across your patch? What do you see when you're covering the games and working your way around?
An incredible amount of unity. The competition is red hot. Like, everyone wants to be a winner or wants to win. Not everyone can, but the way clubs accept wins and accept defeats, it speaks volumes for the people that make up our communities. You were talking to Brad before about the importance of a club. It just provides that focus that everyone needs. You need to belong to something. You need to be able to contribute to something to make it feel like you're making a worthwhile contribution. And sporting clubs, they teach our kids how to be part of a team environment. As you get older, you can aim to improve yourself. And I just think without our sporting clubs as communities, we wouldn't have anything left. We used to have dances back in my day. You could go out, but it's the whole social side of things and also the competitive side of things that our sporting clubs provide. And during COVID, when we lost that, you just felt lost. You didn't know where to go. You didn't have anyone you really could talk to. But come to the football, you can chinwag with someone for 10 minutes. You might see some you haven't seen for 12 months from Bort or wherever. But you can catch up, and it just gives you a whole new lease of life.
Now, obviously, the recorder's produced weekly and has all the results and everything in it. But Wade and Brad, how important is to have coverage like the work that Shane and Robin and the team at the Beloit Times do for your clubs to raise a profile and to raise interest in your clubs and your communities?
Okay, Wade.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about it. It's important, and just for even the people like older people that have moved away. I've got relations and that in Bendigo and that sort of stuff, and they get the paper and they can keep track of their grandkids or relations or family, friends, and that sort of thing. It spreads a long way, and it's very important in my opinion. That's for sure.
Brad?
Yeah. First thing Tuesday morning, we'll be all in to get the paper to read the football report, see how many goals everyone kicked. Shane and their team do a fantastic job, and to cover 3 codes is unbelievable. And as Wade says, I know 50 people that the paper gets sent to every week just so they can keep in touch with the local North Central football, netball and hockey clubs.
Yeah, if you are viewing the vodcast today outside the area as well, the Bloke Times have got a fantastic online presence as well. So Shane, jump on and get that subscription.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. All right, I reckon we've started pretty well here in the first quarter of the Paddock, the goals. Maybe not quite Adelaide v Carlton, but a pretty good start nevertheless. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Brad. And thank you, Wade. Best of luck to each of you on the 2023 season.
And good luck and welcome to Nullarbor, and good luck to the defending champions, Birchip Watcham. It should be a fantastic season.
Thanks, Shane.
Thanks very much.
Travis.
Good on you.
The Paddock, the Goals, second term underway, and we're going to introduce the Birchup Cropping Group CEO, Fiona Best. Good afternoon, Fiona.
Hi, Travis. How are you?
I'm really well. It's great to be in Birchup. Weather not ideal, but hopefully still a good day on court and on field. So plenty of people out there today.
A huge crowd, Trav. It's great to kick off round one with such a great crowd and to be welcoming Nullarbor to the competition.
And to fully tick off on your credentials, you're also president of the Leisure Centre here in Birchup as well.
I am, indeed.
What I'm really interested in is, what are your sporting credentials?
It's not a long list. I have played netball, played tennis, and I have attempted to play hockey in the past. Not very well.
What's a day at the sports for you and your family mean?
Look, we're pretty involved. I've got two boys playing under 14s footy. Jared, my partner, coaches the under 17s football side and helps out with the senior team in the forward line coaching role. So I'm kid wrangling for most of the day, but I guess with my role at the Leisure Centre, just making sure that the facilities around the ground are well maintained and things are ticking along from a facilities perspective.
What can we learn from past experiences when it comes to responding to emergency events? The Birchup Cropping Group's led some important research projects.
Yeah, look, the Birchup Cropping Group is such a fantastic organisation to have in the region, particularly supporting farmers in times of drought and floods. Look, we've done quite a bit of research in terms of floods. Disease management has been a big topic, particularly last year. So, research is really, really important. So trying to support farmers to make really strong decisions in relation to disease management and things like that.
The BCG Drought Resilience Project was a research initiative aimed at helping Australian farmers cope with the effects of the millennium drought, which lasted from 2000 to 2010. So what learnings can be applied out of what happened in October last year from the millennium drought?
I think planning. I think the importance of having strategies ready to go when crisis hits is really, really important. So all of that pre-thinking outside of the emergency situation is really, really important. We just know from history and that time, from 2000 to 2010 that you can suffer sort of decision paralysis, and that can be really debilitating. So a real learning from that was to try and make sure that we've got lots of strategies in place. We've thought through lots of different scenarios, and we've got sort of decisions ready to go, ready to be made when certain scenarios hit. So I think that's probably one of the biggest learnings that we've had. That's
a powerful learning. When you drop a phrase like decision paralysis to farmers and their families, does that cause a fair bit of reflection for them to sort of think to themselves, yeah, we did stop thinking and trying to progress, and I hadn't had the opportunity to stop and think about that?
Yeah, well, certainly when you're in the moment and you're experiencing pressures and it's hard to think clearly. So yeah, we've had a lot of conversations with farmers outside of those real pressure situations. In the last few years, notwithstanding some, floods last year, but we've had some pretty good seasons. Yeah. And so we've really been encouraging farmers to use that time of, where the seasons have been going with us to sort of scenario plan for when maybe we're not going to be in those situations again, whether it be a drought or maybe a flood, just to have plans in place and be really clear about what it's going to look like if that happens again.
Are there other opportunities apart from scenario planning that those good years represent for farming communities and what they should be doing when it goes well? You put it in, you sow it, you collect the money and you move on. Are there other opportunities in those good years that you don't get in years of drought or flood?
Oh, for sure. You're investing in machinery, investing in infrastructure, but you're making sure that you're planning for when things don't go so well. So you might be, investing in livestock containment areas if you're got managing livestock, or you might be investing in on-farm storage, or when the pressure's not quite on, and that sort of alleviates you when you're in times of drought to not have to be making those sort of infrastructure decisions. And so those are the sorts of things that we're encouraging farmers to do in the good times. Obviously, arming yourself with great research and the latest thinking in agronomic practice, that's obviously really, really important. to maximise the opportunities in the good years.
One of the outcomes of your research was recognising the importance of focusing on improving livability as an essential component to recovery. Tell us a bit more about your findings and perhaps even some examples of how this has since been achieved in areas that, as a community, we need to improve in.
Yeah, look, you're right. One of the learnings was that livability is really compromised in drought. So what we've seen is a real shift in importance around creating really positive spaces on farms. So for many farmers, they're working and living on the farm, and so there's no escape from things when it's drought conditions. So what are the things that you can focus on? And one of those things was creating positive spaces, whether that's the house, the garden, planting more trees. I think we've seen a real shift. Once upon a time, investing in the house or investing in the garden, tree planting, it was the last thing that you would do, and it was sort of sacrificed. Whereas I think there's been a real shift in thinking, and farmers and farming families are saying, well, look, this is one thing that's in our control, that we can create a really positive space for us to come home to and have family gatherings and whatever that looks like for people. And so, yeah, we have seen a real shift in that. And going back to your previous question about what people can do in good years, it's probably setting themselves up, to make sure that they've got a real sanctuary to come back to when things, maybe not going to plan out in the paddock.
It's the second term in the Paddock the Goals, our first Beloit Shire Council vodcast, and we're with CEO of the Birchip Cropping Group, Fiona Best. Fiona, can you briefly tell us about some of the new projects you've got going on at BCG and aim to build future resilience in Beloit?
We've got a lot of projects,
Always
Always a lot of projects, but a couple of key highlights is, one of the things that BCG tries to do is bring science to the region, and an important part of doing that is to have scientists and industry come and undertake work within the region. And one of the biggest challenges that we've had recently to do that is accommodation. So BCG has embarked on a pretty bold project we're calling BCG Nexus, which is to build an accommodation facility and a small conference facility here in Birchip that will be able to house scientists and industry people and visiting students to the region. So we're in the planning phase of that. We're working with RDV and local government to bring that to fruition. So that's one exciting project. We've established a young farmer network, recognising that we've got a new generation of farmers coming through that need, a lot of support, sharing solutions and all of those things, creating networks. And so if there's any young farmers out there who would like to be part of that network, highly encourage you to get in touch with BCG.
How do they do that? What's the best way to have a look at that? Yeah,
just to contact the office, let us know where you're farming, and we'll sort of align you with an existing group that's up and running. We established them last year, and already we're having quite a bit of engagement. So with a number of and we've been really lucky to have one big event here in Birchip last year, a bigger networking event, and we had one recently over in Swan Hill, which was really well received. So we're really looking forward to progressing that project. And just lastly, Trav, the other project that I was keen to mention was the Victoria Drought Hub. BCG are part of that, and that's going to be a really important mechanism for BCG to continue to help support farmers, making sure that their businesses are really, really resilient moving forward. It's
symbolic, isn't it, of talking about drought just after a flood. The sequence continues. Thank you for making some time and coming out of the rain, and
no
congratulations on all that you and your team and the board are doing at BCG.
Thanks,
a real
Travis.
beacon for both the Birchip and Beloit communities. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Travis.
The Paddock, the goals. It's the third term, the Premiership quarter, and I'd like to introduce from Red Cross Victoria's volunteer Janet Stafford. Good afternoon, Janet.
Hi, Travis.
We believe there are 6 Red Cross volunteers here in Birchip today, including yourself getting around the footy, netball and around the crowd in general. So a shout out to the team. Bruce, Jenny and Alan, Joy Freeman and Bronwyn Fisher as well, all here. Tell us a bit about the role of Red Cross before, during and after an emergency.
Well, during the emergency is probably when you see us the most, but before we train people in preparedness. We meet with community groups and teach people how to prepare for disasters so that when a disaster occurs, you know to grab this, and you have it all ready, and you can take your identification, your medications, your phone charger, and all the important things that you need with you. That's what we do before. We also teach pillowcase CPR for kids in schools, which is a really, really good program to teach kids to be ready to help in an emergency. During the disaster, we set up relief centres. We're there during the most crucial times, offering psychological first aid, emotional support to people. We also do Register, Reunite and Find, which is how people that are looking for you or you are looking for people can understand where you are and that you're safe and that you're in a secure place and can be found if that's what you want. There are people who don't want to be found. We follow that on with weeks of support, emotional and physical support. We help run programs to make sure people are travelling okay. And then after the disaster is the recovery programs, which we liaise with council, we liaise with other community groups, with other support groups to ensure that in the months and years following a disaster, people are getting the comfort, the support and the assistance that they need, and to be able to link in with services that they need to help them through sometimes some of the darkest days of their lives.
So it's 6 months after the October 2022 flood event across Victoria now. So what's that looking like for the Red Cross? What are we seeing, and what is the Australian Red Cross doing at the moment to support their communities?
In this particular disaster, we are working towards outreach to ensure that people are travelling okay, that they have been able to apply for the government grants, some of which have been extended, and we're able to provide them with the information and the links to apply for those. We're working with the Shire of Buloke on this particular program to reach out to people and to make sure that people are okay, because at the time of the disaster, you're all adrenaline, you're running around, you're putting things together, you're protecting things, you're repairing things, you're fixing things, you're, trying to find whether your fences are down or up, whether your crop's gone, and you've got to fix the shed because the tractor went underwater. 6 months down the track, you start feeling weird, headaches, grumpiness. Why am I shouting at my kids? Why am I not wanting to go back onto the tractor? Why am I looking at the paddock and thinking, what's the point? And we are here to help link you into those areas of support where you can seek the help, that you can understand that this is very normal and very common, and you need to link in to the support systems that are there and available for you so that you don't get sicker and you don't make terrible decisions.
What are some of those support services that are currently available?
There's Lifeline, there's Beyond Blue, there's Mind Australia. All of those are free services. You can contact them online. You can contact them by phone. And we've got the information here for you to have a look at. We've also got books. There's this one, which is a brilliant little publication put out by the Red Cross. All of these publications are online. And if you get one of these, even if you don't feel like reading it, just have a look at page 4 and have a look at page 13. We've got emergency preparedness information, how to help with your kids, because the kids react really weirdly sometimes. They can do stuff that you don't. They can be unpredictable and they can behave very poorly. So this can help you to walk through a minefield, and they can be different ages, different dramas. And then there's the activity book, which is really cool and lots of fun, and we have plenty of those.
Yeah, so we're handing out some bags today with this information in it.
With all of this in it. So we've got plenty here, and we're happy to share them with anybody who would like one. And we have spare colouring books for those that have more than one child, and there's going to be a squabble.
Yeah, great. So your team's out and about around the ground today, so look for them. Are they largely in red raincoats moving around, so nice and visible?
Most of us are, yes.
Yeah, great. So excellent. Now, one thing we do want to mention too is the After the Disaster podcast by Kate Brady, who is indeed an ex-Red Cross staff member and disaster recovery specialist, which is available on the ABC.
Yep, and it's brilliant. I've listened to it all the way through. It's practical, it's down to earth, and it's worth listening to. And you can do that in the quiet of your shed, the ironing room, the kitchen, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, in the car.
And at the risk of sounding like a federal government employee, you could probably get that on the ABC Listen app, I would assume.
Oh, yes, you certainly can.
Thanks, Janet, and thanks to you and your team for the stunning work that was done at the Witchy-Proof Emergency Relief Centre back in October last year.
Thank you.
The compassion, the kindness, the preparedness to be there and work with those people that were displaced is a credit to you and your team. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us today on the Paddock the Goals.
Yeah, and go both football teams.
Terrific.
Thank you.
We've reached the final quarter of the Paddock the Goals, our first vodcast for the Beloit Shire Council, and let's hope the breeze is at our backs and we can finish over the top of the opposition. I'd like to introduce Beloit Shire Council's Senior Manager Flood Recovery, Dan McLaughlin.
How you going, Trav?
And Director of Wimmera Mallee Accountant, Dale Pointer.
Hey, Trav.
Thanks both for joining. Look, we might commence with you, Dale. Any footy or hockey credentials to
Not
push
a lot,
up?
not a lot to speak of, mate. I have played junior footy for both sides out here today, and having a business in Birchip and residing in Nullall.
You're well placed.
I think I'll just stay right on the fence with that one. We'll see who's up with a couple of minutes to go.
You got to understand, you're looking at the under 17 grand final, full forward and fat pocket here.
Yes. It's amazing the forward line was big enough to hold us both, but it does.
Dan, you've got some real bear in the square attributes going on today as well, so I can see we're in for a good last quarter here on the Paddock the Goals. Dale, let's commence with you. Can you give us a bit of an overview of some of the issues that this flood event's caused in Beloit, and considering we've only really just emerged from COVID-19 and where are we at now?
I think it's in line with some of the seasons as well. You know, we're coming in where we were coming, back in October when the event sort of occurred. Farmers had spent up, and not just farmers, businesses, like the costs, especially in farming, the inputs were so high. So we're coming into a large prospective crop, and then the risk and the concern with people was that what are we going to get? The events of water and where it was going, and was it ever going to stop?
Yeah.
We've come out the other side, and history tells us that a lot of the water we've been able to bypass and get through, and a lot of farmers have actually still had good years. But during that event, there was some concerns around for people. It was more about what do we do, what we can do, and then when the grants were initiated, we sent it straight out to clients, and initially it was only $10,000, but obviously that's been recently changed. Well, it was changed up to 75, so it's just making people aware of that to ensure that they're claiming.
And there's some good news around as well. Beloit Shire Council, along with a lot of other LGAs and Emergency Management Victoria, have been advocating strongly for those flood grants to be extended, which they finally have happened. So for information about farm support, jump on the AgVic website, look for the flood link there and make your way through those. There's a list of other grants and support networks available at Beloit Shire Council as well, so please hop on our website and have a look, where we've done a really great job, our engagement team, of pulling those grant opportunities together. The following grants have been extended until the 13th of July of this year, these being the Primary Producer Flood Recovery Grant, the Rural Landholder Grant, Flood Recovery Transport Support Program, Primary Producer Flood Recovery Concessional Loan, and the Rural Financial Counselling Service is available to assist primary producers to understand and apply for flood and storm support. So primary producers can contact their local RFCS on 1300 771 741, and more information is available on the Rural Finance website as well, or give them a call on 1800 260 425. Dale, what can you tell our listeners about how they can reach out for support and or what they can do to assist the rest of their community as well?
I think the biggest thing is that I can say to them is don't self-assess. Put an application in. So go speak to someone, whether it's your accountant, whether it's you're a business advisor or something like that. Make sure you put an application in, because a lot of people we found with our clients, we forward out the information, and people have said, "Oh no, I'm not eligible." But it's not. You don't have to be lying on a floodway or lying on an actual waterway to claim this grant. So this grant, people have been out in the middle of nowhere on the plains and they've had water issues. So things like fencing, tracks, road access to tracks. If you've had to incur costs, to build levee banks, things like that, they're all part of the grant. Okay, we've got clients that are out there only finding issues now, where they've had bogged headers or bogged trucks or bog marks in the paddocks, and they've had to fill in these or buy renovators or buy equipment to assist with filling in these things. That's all eligible. Sheep. We had a lot of clients lose sheep through water and damage, obviously because of nutrients in the water. Drenches, all those costs that you've incurred are actually eligible under the grant. So I think the biggest advice I would give is don't self-assess, and there are groups out there that can assist, such as the Rural Financial Counselling Service, and the Shire will have a list of these people. If you haven't heard from your accountant or your business advisor, let them know. Speak to someone at the Shire.
Yep. Jump on the website, www.beloit.vic.gov.au, and you'll find all those links really easily accessible from the front page of the website. Dan, some comments from you, really. Look, can you give us a bit of an overview about Council's progress in responding to the flood so far?
Yeah, well, it's probably important to remember Council have sort of started the response phase back on October 13. So we've been at it for a fair while. Initially, that was really counter-disaster operations, looking after our most vulnerable, particularly our towns, but also farmhouses. We worked with all the lead agencies in that emergency management sphere, I guess. So through an incident control centre, we were directed to do everything from sandbagging to picking up sandbags once the water had gone through.
Yep.
Levee building, all that sort of stuff was in the early days. And then we went into really the response mode. And that was as the water got around the towns, and we were really lucky to have a lot of local knowledge assist us in that, particularly in Charlton.
Extraordinary.
And had an incredible result there where, under direction from the locals, really, we were able to take a large amount of water around the township of Charlton, and the Bureau would note that somewhere between 80 to 120 houses were saved from that. So we worked closely with community and all those lead agencies. VicPol were incredible, SES, Emergency Management Victoria, Emergency Recovery Victoria, and then we quickly had to go into that response mode because we had an impending harvest.
So talk to us a bit about your approach in getting that community knowledge during the event, and then when you went back to the community around harvest to identify those strategic roads of importance. So harvest could come off in the best way possible given the state of the roads.
Yeah, so particularly with the townships under threat in that immediate stage, we held community meetings, and through those really we had community members approach us. Also helps to go to the local watering hole. Trav,
Yes,
you can run into
that's where the truth is.
Run into a few of our primary producers there. And then, so we had community meetings as that water essentially started in the southern end of our shire, whether it was the Avoca turned into the Tyrrell, or whether it was some of the water around Birchip, and indeed south of Birchip, ending up heading towards Sea Lake and being stuck in that area around Mailbed. There was plenty of meetings with landowners.
Yeah.
With different towns, and then when we went into that really response to harvest mode, we knew we had a huge amount of damage out there, over 5,000 defects, and we're still counting. That's just for emergency works. That's not to rebuild. Yeah. And we had to work with particularly our farmers to make sure, and we tried to be as reactive as we could, to the point you were taking phone calls at 11 o'clock at night to say, I want to get into the canola by tomorrow, Arvo, and we were shifting equipment, our equipment and contractors. I should really note that we've been blessed to have really good local contractors and preferred suppliers that have helped us. At some stages, we've had 6 of our grader crews, 5 contractor grader crews, and then 4 patrol crews between us out there. So we were really lucky, and I think more fortunate than some of the other rural and remote councils that we were able to get that team together.
Now, there's some key challenges there. Another one that's thrown around, and council last Wednesday night adopted their updated advocacy strategy, which includes what they're advocating for out of the October 2022 flood event. One item of which is betterment, something that is not included currently in the DRF funding guidelines. Tell us a bit about betterment and what that means.
What it really means for Bull Oak is, and we welcome all funding, and we've been very fortunate to receive funding at a federal level through the National Disaster Fund for the emergency works. However, when we go to rebuild those roads, we need to rebuild them to a standard that aligns with our road management plan. So you have to remember, a lot of our seal network in particular, they were built for 7-tonne Bedfords. Yep. And we've now got B-doubles and road trains sharing the road with school buses and grey nomads with big caravans. Okay. So we, over a 30, 40-year period, have to rectify that, but there's no way that we can replace a 4-metre wide seal if our road management plan says it should be 6. And the betterment means that if we want to return that 4-metre road to 6, we have to pay for that extra 2 metres. And when you think about if 1 kilometre of road to replace is worth $400,000 in normal times, not in this current environment where civil contractors are coming at a premium, if you think that we've got to come up with 30% of that figure every time, it's a massive burden on the ratepayer. And the reality is, a small rural like Bull Oak just can't afford it.
Yeah, that's very true. You get a good price for a neat 7-tonne Bedford at the moment, wouldn't you? I reckon. projects that are going on now. Obviously, your teams have been basically in flood mode since October, so the normal road schedule would not have been really progressed. What's currently going on for the teams?
Yeah, so we've got 2 rehabilitation programs happening at the moment. So certainly McLaughlin's Road, with people who locally know out the 7 Mile Bend that meets the Sunraysia. We're doing 2 sections there. We hope to get to another section on the Marlborough-Currio Road, and we have another section booked in on Jeffcott Road. But they're all contractors doing those rehabilitations. Our crews are certainly still working their way out of emergency works, and it's crucial that, I guess, our ratepayer understands that that emergency works period finishes at the end of April. So we've had to do things that we wouldn't normally do, like stand grader crews down to get them to concentrate on patching potholes, because otherwise we won't be reimbursed for that money. So it's all hands on deck patching potholes at the moment, and unfortunately, particularly for our primary producers, that means our typical maintenance grades have been halted.
Thanks, Dale and Dan, for taking some time out of the footy and the netball today to join us on the Paddock the Goals.
Thank you, Trav. I should just offer some sort of commiseration. Both you are long-suffering Carlton fans.
Oh, good.
And I just thought I'd make sure that you guys both knew that I feel you.
Yeah, thanks.
That's coming from a fellow Hawthorn supporter.
As a Hawthorn man, and we're going to have a pretty lean year too.
Let's hope they don't bubble up anytime soon, the Hawks. We've really enjoyed walking you through the Paddock the Goals vodcast, and this is just the start. So we've got 9 more of these, another live one happening in Charlton later in the season, and we'll be able to transcribe a summary of today's vodcast and make it available in print form. If you'd like a copy, reach out as soon as you can next week by calling customer service at Beloke Shire Council on 1300 520 520. Thanks very much to the North Central Football League, the Birchip Watcham Football Club for having us today, the Red Cross, DECA, Emergency Recovery Victoria for their support, AgVic, Birchip Cropping Group, the Victoria SES as well. Next week's podcast will be available for your consumption on match day next Saturday, and very much a big thank you to Joe Postlethwaite, our Manager of Customer Engagement at Beloke Shire Council, for pulling this all together, and for Braden Cox and Roland Media for their outstanding work today as well. That's it. Enjoy the football and the netball and the hockey across the North Central today. Let's hope your team kicks off with a round 1 win.